All right, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and record your final review PowerPoint just so that you can watch this at any time and kind of like hear me talk you through it because I know that helps rather than you just clicking it through it yourself. Okay, so this is in 39 slides. We're going to go through everything we've learned this year. Okay, so tips and tricks, just make sure in your review module on Canvas, this slideshow will be a lifesaver for you. So watch this recording, but then go back and kind of click through it again before you take your exam. All right, so in Unit 1, 1.01, we learned about internal influences on food and external influences on food, okay? Our internal influences are listed here. External influences are listed here. Remember, the internal influences are influences that like come within us. Okay, we want to eat to keep our bodies healthy. We want to eat to be well. We want to eat because we like the way food tastes. We eat because we're with our family for comfort, like mac and cheese when you're sad. We eat at dinner parties for entertainment, or we eat for adventure if we're traveling new places or trying new things. An external influence on food is something that's not within us, that's influencing us. Okay, so like the media and commercials, advertisements, that influences what we eat. Economic influences, what's the economy like, is it available? Environmental influences, which is like agriculture, once again, is it available, are the crops there, what have you? And then technological influences, that's about like processing. This is my plate. This is 1.02. We did not talk about this a lot this year because the My Plate website is like under construction and nothing in the curriculum works the way it's supposed to. So just for reference, if y'all can kind of see fruits, vegetables, grains, and proteins. Half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables, half of your plate should be grains and proteins, and then dairy up here is the little blue thing. Make sure that you choose less sugar, less fat, less sodium, and focus on a variety. You want a variety of vegetables, a variety of proteins. You don't just want to eat steak and cheese and salad every single day because then that doesn't give you all the nutrients you need. You need to change it up. These are the 6 essential nutrients. So we have carbs, fats, or lipids. Remember that lipids is just another word for fats. Water, vitamins, minerals, and proteins. Junk science and fad diets. We didn't talk too heavily about this. This is something that y'all just kind of went through quickly on your own in the notebook. Junk science is just basically like, if y'all see on Instagram, you know, those there's like ads, it's like Sarah's Discovery or whatever that tells you that you can lose weight really fast, but there is absolutely no scientific evidence to back that up. That junk science and fad diets, those kind of go in together. Okay, some red flags are that there's once again, no scientific evidence to back it up. There's a bunch of like pictures, edited pictures and testimonies that aren't real, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're looking for a diet, you always need to consult a doctor first because it could be bad for you. Kitchen safety, y'all should be very familiar with this at this point. These are the 7 types. We've got cuts, burns and fires, falls, electrical, chemical poisoning, choking, clothing, and hair. Remember the first aid for these things and how to prevent them, okay? Safe plates, module 1. Everyone loves safe plates, right? So these are kind of just like the most important things for module 1. Remember YOPI, Y-O-P-I, which is the acronym for the people who are most susceptible to get foodborne illnesses. So that's young people, and I mean really young, not like your age, like children, old people, people who are pregnant, and people who are immunocompromised. Remember, immunocompromised people who have weakened immune systems or immune diseases like Crohn's disease, cancer, diabetes, etc. Okay, and then also over here, remember the 3 types of hazards. We have physical hazards, which is if you find something in your food, you can pick it up, you can physically see it, that's a physical hazard, okay? Hair, plastic, glass, fingernails, all those examples we talked about. Biological hazards, that's going to be bacteria, okay? So most foodborne illnesses, that's a biological hazard. And then chemical hazards, bleach, cleaners, etc. Module 2, we've got the temperature danger zone from 41 to 135. You do not want food sitting in the temperature danger zone for a long time, okay? That's why we want to keep food out of the temperature danger zone by either keeping it hot, ready to eat, or cold in the refrigerator, okay? Remember that TCS is time and temperature controlled for safety. So a TCS food would be a steak, okay? A not TCS food would be like Lay's potato chips. You don't need to keep Lay's potato chips in the refrigerator. They're just going to be safe the way they are. That's an RTE food, okay? It's ready to eat. But TCS foods has to be temperature controlled either in the fridge or hot. And then these are the factors that determine a TCS food: fat tom, food, acidity, time, temperature, oxygen, and moisture. Remember, the two things that we can control as the food handlers are time and temperature, all right? And these are all the things that bacteria loves to grow. Continuation of module 2, remember that food can be kept for 7 days, okay? So if you cook something, it needs to be kept in the fridge for 7 days. At 7 days, toss it, all right? These are the approved thawing methods. I feel like everything probably is sticking with us that I've talked about this far. This part, I beg y'all to go over because this is probably, you don't remember this just off, your head. So these are the ways that we can thaw foods, okay? In the refrigerator at 41 degrees. So you take it out of the freezer, you put it in the fridge. It takes a long time, but that's one way. In the microwave, only if you cook it immediately. Remember that, okay? You can thaw it in the microwave only if you cook it immediately. So if you have a chicken breast and you thaw it in the microwave, you have to cook it that day, right then. You can't just put it in the fridge and cook it tomorrow. You can put it under running water that's 70 degrees or lower because you want to keep it out of the temperature danger zone, or as part of the cooking process. So like if you have frozen peas that you throw into pasta, those are just going to thaw naturally as you put them into hot pasta. This is just temperature danger zone, more stuff. You want to keep food above 135 or below 41, always. TCS food that is hot can be hot. You can be held for 4 hours, okay? And then it has to be thrown away. So just make sure that you remember that. If so, like if you had a casserole at a I don't know, Super Bowl party, like the buffalo chicken dip, okay? And you heated that up. After 4 hours, that needs to be thrown away. Cold food is 6 hours. And then these are the cooling requirements. So to cool foods, once again, this is something y'all probably need to go over. I wonder if I can move me. Yes, I can. So to cool food from 135 to 41 degrees, the first step is to get it from 135 to 70 within 2 hours. Second step, 70 to 41 in 4 hours, okay? Just go over this, write it down, commit it to memory, okay? Reheating food. I don't feel like y'all are gonna have a lot of questions about reheating food. Just remember that it always has to be like anything that's reheated, anything at all, whether it's like put back in the microwave to reheat or put back in the oven, anything that's been in the fridge that has to be reheated all the way back up to 165, okay? And that will be with your temperatures. So if you look in your note at your temperatures, that should help. Remember the types of food handlers. There's excluded, reinstated, and restricted, okay? Excluded means that you cannot be in the operation at all, okay? So you cannot be in the food establishment at all. That's going to be any foodborne illness symptoms, okay? Fever, etc. Let's go down here to restricted real quick. Restricted is like if you have like a runny nose or something, you can work in the restaurant, but not directly with the food, okay? And then reinstated means that you're symptom-free for 24 hours, your doctor's cleared, you're back at work. And then here are just some of those like symptoms that we just talked about for the 3 times. These are the different ways that things can be contaminated, okay? So cross-contamination happens. by like if you're not hygienic enough, you're not washing your hands, you're not wearing gloves, etc. You're not cleaning or sanitizing, dripping water, or if things are stored improperly. So if chicken, remember the storage order in the cooler that we talked about a long, long time ago? If chicken is above broccoli, it can cross-contaminate because the juices from the chicken can drip down. So it's important to store things properly. And there that is right now. So this is the correct storage order. Remember, as you go down, the contamination level goes up and the more you have to cook it. Okay, so RTE food is on the top. Then you have fish and eggs, which are at 145. Then you have whole cuts of beef and pork, which are at 145. Then you have ground meat, which is at 155, and then all poultry at the bottom, which is at 165. So as you see, the more likely it is for that product to be a contaminant, the more you have to cook it. Okay, so as you go down, the more you have to cook something. Okay, and this is the storage order for the fridge. Um, Food contact surface and hand contact surface, that's common sense. Okay, if it's a food contact surface, it's something that's going to be in contact with food. Okay, countertops, um, cutting boards, knives. If it's a hand contact surface, it's anything that's going to be touched by your hands. So the refrigerator door, the table, also knives, pots, pans, etc. This is the dishwashing process, which is something that y'all should be so familiar with at this point. Remember that you scrape first, so get all the crap off. Then you wash with soapy water, okay? Rinse, sanitize, air dry. Don't get lost in these like superfluous words, okay? Just look at like the first word. So pre-flush, that just means scrape. So just think of that as scrape. Wash with soap, rinse, sanitize, air dry. Y'all are so familiar with this at this point, especially if you've been in the class cooking. You can just clean and rinse hand contact surfaces, so like the fridge, anything that you touch with your hands, but anything that's touched with food, you wash, rinse, sanitize, air dry. Okay. And y'all, once again, do that with every dish that you use in the classroom. Remember, cross-contact is an allergen, okay? So cross-contamination is pretty much any bacteria being transferred from one place to another, but cross-contact is an allergen, okay? So if it's peanuts or soy or milk or whatever, if someone's allergic to it, that's cross contact, okay, not cross contamination. I mean, I guess it could be cross contamination as well, but just remember that cross contact is with allergies, okay? And then remember, there's a difference between an allergy and an intolerance, okay? So food allergy, your immune responds to it abnormally. Your immune system starts to break down, your throat starts to close up, you get hives, swelling, etc. A food intolerance just means that you don't digest it right. So if someone's lactose intolerant or gluten intolerant, their stomach doesn't digest it properly, and that leads to like uncomfortable like stomach symptoms. These are the top 8 allergens: milk, eggs, peanut, tree nut, soy, wheat, fish, and shellfish. Um, This is a Kahoot for kitchen equipment. I'm going to change the link if y'all want to, like, it can be like a self-paced kitchen equipment Kahoot thing, so that it's not like a live one, but you can just kind of click through it. With kitchen equipment, just go over that slide in your notebook where you literally labeled everything, okay? And remember, we kind of played a game talking about those things. This is a really terrible graphic of a gallon man. But y'all made a gallon thing. Y'all made a gallon thingy in your notebook. So 1 gallon has 4 quarts, has 8 pints, has 16 cups. Okay, so that's just how you read that. Remember, 1 cup is 8 ounces. Remember, 1 pound is 16 ounces, so 1 pound has 2 cups. I think those are the big ones. Recipes, essential ingredients, versus non-essential ingredients. So like an essential ingredient you can't swap out. So if you're making bread and the recipe calls for flour, you can't just use peanut butter instead of flour. Okay, flour is an essential ingredient. If you're making stir fry and it calls for green peppers, that's not an essential ingredient. You can swap that out with broccoli or carrots or whatever. Okay, so essential versus non-essential. And if you want to, when you're going through this PowerPoint on your own, you can double these ingredients. So what would 3 cups of flour be doubled? What would half a tablespoon of baking soda be doubled? 3/4 cups of milk be doubled? 2.5 cups of butter be doubled? Work plans. These are the 5 steps to a work plan. Just kind of commit these to memory. Select, read, and interpret the recipe. So that's when you select the recipe, you figure out what you want to do with it and what it's telling you. You list all your tasks. You do the market order and the timetable. Market order is like the grocery list. Timetable is, y'all remember how to do timetables. Remember timetables. I think this goes over timetables, but just remember you calculate the end time before the start time and that you do the clock time and all those steps. Then you carry out the work plan. So you do the cooking and then you evaluate the work plan. No, it didn't talk about timetables, so that's important. Hold on, let me go back real quick. Gosh, will it let me? Ah! I've done it now. There we go. So y'all are gonna do timetables, or if you have at this point, I don't know when you're watching this. You're gonna practice with one again when you do your final project. Remember, you're gonna list all the tasks first, okay? All of the tasks that you need to carry out that recipe or that work plan. Then you're gonna determine the estimated time it takes for each of those tasks, okay? So if like getting my utensils, 2 minutes, heating up water, 10 minutes, blah, 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 all the way down, the estimated time. You'll calculate your total time, and then you do the clock time backwards, okay? So you know your end time first. So say all of your tasks added up, that's like 60 minutes, okay? And say your end time is at 12. Then you subtract the time for each task until you get to 11 because you know it's going to take 60 minutes. Timetables can be a little confusing, so I just wanted to make sure to go over that. All right, fruits and veggies. This is the classifications for fruits and veggies. Vegetables, you got stem vegetables, celery, and asparagus. Remember, with vegetables, it's like the part you eat is like the part of the vegetable. So we eat the asparagus, which is a stem. The flower vegetables are artichokes, broccoli, and cauliflower. They're the flowering part of the vegetable. Root vegetables, beets, carrots, sweet potatoes, anything that grows under the ground. Seed vegetables, which this one's kind of difficult for some people, peas, corn, and beans, okay? So that they're like the pods, they're the seeds inside of things. Leaf vegetables, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all types of lettuce, etc. Fruits, we've got berries. The only weird berry is grape, okay? Everything else is going to say berry, okay? But grapes are a berry, so remember that. Melons, watermelon, cantaloupe. Poms, remember that pom means apple in French, so that's your apples and pears. Citrus fruits, orange, lemons, limes, grapefruits, etc. Tropical fruits, bananas, mangoes, pineapples, avocados. Remember, an avocado is a fruit. And then drupes, cherries, mangoes, peaches, etc. Anything. Well, mangoes are a tropical fruit and a drupe. Anything that has a pit like that is going to be a drupe. And then remember that a tomato is not a. Oh, that's not on here. Y'all, I don't know why this isn't on here, but I'm glad you're watching this. Remember, there's another category over here in vegetables, and it's fruit vegetables, okay? So remember, tomato is not a fruit. It is a fruit vegetable. Anything with seeds is a fruit vegetable. So squash, okay, cucumber, anything with that heavily has seeds, that's a fruit vegetable. So it's a vegetable, just in the fruit category. Dairy, these are just the types of dairy. Fresh, so it's like milk, or like those fresh cheeses like ricotta and mozzarella. Concentrated is like evaporated milk or anything that you find on the shelf that's shelf stable. Cultured means it has like, it's aged, it has those live active cultures. That is going to be yogurt, buttermilk, etc. And then frozen's ice cream. Remember, cook milk low and slow. That's a big thing. You'll probably see questions about that. Low and slow. Grains. Okay. Remember whole grains, that is the entire grain. So like brown rice is the entire grain. But white rice would just be the endosperm. Okay. So this is like a good little graphic of a grain. It would take the bran and the germ out, and just the endosperm right here, that's what white rice is. So you know how like brown rice is kind of like crunchy and it has like texture to it. That's because it's the entire grain. That is where the nutrients are. So when you take that part, the bran and the germ out, you're losing the nutrients, which is why white rice is not as good for you as brown rice. Proteins, okay? So y'all know what a protein is, any type of meat, fish, poultry, beef, etc. If you have a tender meat, these are your options. If something is not tender, it needs to be cooked low and slow so it can break down the muscles. And then these are tenderizing methods. So you can grind meat, that makes it more tender. Marinate meat, which you soak it in seasonings or like a marinade that you make with liquid, or you can simmer it, okay? So that's what you do with less tender meat. Poultry, if you're roasting a whole poultry, so like y'all did probably a turkey at Thanksgiving or a whole chicken, that's a good method. Sometimes you can stew poultry. Remember, stew, braise, those imply that there's liquid, okay? So just remember those terms mean liquid. Or stir fry, something just really quickly. Fish and shellfish are cooked very quickly. They're the quickest cooking protein. You don't want to overcook them because they become tough and rubbery. Eggs, we did a lot with eggs. This is the diagram of an egg. If y'all have need to go back and look at your notebook or just listen to this. I don't think you'll get too many questions about the parts of an egg, but more so how to cook them. Okay, but this is, if y'all need to take a look at that, be my guest. Quick breads. Quick breads are in the name. Remember, they can be made quickly. Okay, so they are leavened or risen with baking soda or baking powder or some other leavening agent that is not yeast. Okay, so pancakes, biscuits, cupcakes, etc. Those are all quick breads. They can be made on the spot quickly. There's no rising time because there's no yeast. Yeast breads. Okay. Remember, yeast plus sugar equals CO2. CO2 makes the air bubbles that gives bread the texture and flavor that we love. Okay. These are the things that have to be in yeast breads: flour, yeast, some sort of liquid, probably water, and salt. Okay, salt gives it the flavor, but it also helps with the chemical reaction. Batter breads have to have more kneading. Whole grain just means that there's whole wheat flour. And sourdough uses a starter, which we haven't really talked about, but maybe some of y'all make sourdough bread at home and you know what a starter is. Table settings. Okay, so you will probably be asked, like, it will give you this fork over here on the left, and it will be like, what is this fork? And then you'll be like, oh, that's the salad fork. Okay. Just kind of commit this to memory. Okay, so you've got your salad fork, your dinner fork, your knife, your teaspoon, your soup spoon, and then there's a salad plate on top, and then your entree plate on the bottom. If you do this with your hands, okay, and it's going to be backwards for you, okay, but if you do this with your hand, there's a B and a D. The bread goes on the left, your drink goes on the right, okay, so if it makes a B, that's where your bread goes. You see that? D, that's where your drink goes. And then your dessert utensils are at the top. And just remember, dinnerware, that is all your plates, your cups, or no, your plates, your bowls. Flatware just means silverware, so that's going to be what you eat with. Beverageware is all your cups and stuff. And then hollowware, Hollowware is really strange. Hollowware is like gravy boats and like large like serving bowl things. You shouldn't be asked that many questions about hollowware, but just so you know, etiquette. Make sure to follow the host's cues. So whoever is hosting the party, you kind of pay attention to them. Always keep conversation appropriate, be appreciative and respectful, eat with your manners, say please and thank you. And then you want to always stay seated at the table until everyone's finished for your excuse. Meal preparation strategies. So there's scratch cooking, semi-homemade cooking, and convenience cooking. Scratch is you make everything by hand. Semi-homemade, so like that would be making homemade pasta and a homemade pasta sauce. Okay, so like rolling out the pasta dough and cutting pasta. Semi-homemade would be just like using a store-bought sauce and um, like you have to boil the noodles. Okay, and then convenience is like popping or like going to Chick-fil-A or like popping in a frozen dinner. These are the store options, so convenience stores like the Kangaroo, supermarket, which would be like um, Walmart, warehouse, which would be like Sam's Club, okay, farmers market, food cooperative is kind of like farmers market, homegrown, specialty stores, and pickup, so like Lowe's Foods to go. And then what causes you to select certain types of food? So like it can depend on your schedule that day, it can depend on what you like to eat, it can depend on your budget. Um, Making healthy meals. We have talked about this all year about how you can make healthy swaps. Is usually a question on your work plan. What can you do to make your meals healthier? Use whole grains, use more vegetables, use less oils and fats. Ooh, and that is the end. Awesome possum. So, if y'all have any questions, you can email me and make sure you go through this PowerPoint again before you take your exam. Good luck. I love you all, and I have had such a pleasure teaching you this.